Hello and welcome to Thursdays Live with Chug. My name is Neha Mahajan. I'm the Business Development and Outreach Manager here at Chug LLP Attorneys and CPAs. It's Thursday, October 6th. It's 2 o'clock Eastern Time and 11 o'clock Pacific Time, which means we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn with another topic. Today we're going to talk about asylum and prosecutorial discretion and the trends in asylum these days. You know, seeking asylum is a basic human right and it's protected under our laws. You'll be surprised to know asylum was actually formed as the aftermath of World War II and the horrors of Holocaust. And what happened was that nations across the globe decided to never slam its doors on people who are in need of protection. Yet in the United States of America, there is so much this complication, there's confusion, there is a narrative against asylum seekers, and that is exactly why in today's discussion, we will be talking about asylum, all about it, how to approach it, what are the laws, what are the current trends. Joining me today from our Edison office is our legal consultant, Sreelatha Babu. Sri, hi there, welcome.
Hi Neha. Thank you for setting this up. Actually, this is like you mentioned, it's such a relevant topic, especially now because we see a record number of high immigrants crossing the border in the past year. So actually, U.S. Border Patrol reported more than 1.6 million encounters with immigrants along U.S.-Mexico border in the past fiscal year. To put it in context, this is more than four times the number of the prior fiscal year, and it's all-time high, I should say. So yeah, it is really relevant now.
Well, there is a growing need for asylum in the United States of America, and I'm so glad we live in a country that welcomes its immigrants, at least on paper. Right? So, Sri, I want to get right into the topic. I want to start talking about it. So my first question, we did go into a brief of it in the introduction that I made, but what is asylum and who qualifies for it?
Yeah, sure. Let's start with the basics. So asylum, like you mentioned, it's a protection available to foreign nationals who are already in the United States or arriving at the border who meet the international law definition of refugee. So you mentioned in your introduction, the 1951 UN Convention defines a refugee as a person who is unable or unwilling to go back to his or her home country and cannot claim protection in that country due to past persecution or a well-founded future persecution, right? So U.S. immigration, Congress has incorporated this 1951 UN Convention definition into U.S. immigration law. So we are basically following the same standards. So anybody who is unable or unwilling to go back to their own country because of past persecution or a well-founded future persecution, based on some grounds. So mainly race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group or political opinion. So these are the 6 grounds that we have to, actually check whether a person qualifies for asylum. So when you say persecution, it is we have to take case by case and see that a person qualifies for it. But in general, if we see that a person should be a victim of a past persecution, or you can even say that he cannot go back to the country because there is a well-founded future persecution. So a persecution basically is considered as an infliction of or suffering of harm or a serious threat to their life or freedom. So it's not like it is a mere harassment or like some problem is there so you cannot go back. No, the standard is pretty high there to see that some person qualifies for asylum or not.
So think about it, Sri, for someone literally uprooting themselves and knocking doors of another country to let them in. Think of what kind of a dire situation they must be in to be able to do that, right?
Right.
You said it perfectly well.
Yeah.
I really want to delve into more about asylum and what the process really looks like. So I want to talk to you about different ways of obtaining asylum.
Okay. In the US, there are mainly three ways, like different types of asylum. One is affirmative process, one is defensive process, and if you are in an expedited removal proceeding, they can, they will be given they could given an opportunity to go a credible fear interview. So these are the three pathways.
All right. I know that, this discussion that we are having is going to benefit a lot of people, but I just want to give away a disclaimer also that the discussion today is for informational purposes only, does not create an attorney-client relationship. If you are in a situation and need any kind of a legal guidance, please send us an email, info@chugh.com. That's info@chugh.com. That information is on your screens as well. Also, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn simultaneously. If you have any questions for us, please be sure to type it in the comment section, and we'll be happy to take it up and explain the question, give you an answer if possible. Continuing our discussion, you told us about the three ways of obtaining asylum, right? But my question is asylum really first in, first serve? Meaning those who get in here first, are they the ones who are processed first? Are their cases processed first? Because, we see this narrative of getting into the line, right? So where is this line?
Okay. So there is to straightforward to answer that your question, Neha, it is no, there is nothing like you have to process if you and length of residence in the US is not really a matter most of the time in US immigration law if you think about it. The asylum is the same, and asylum mostly it is subjective, especially there I will we can discuss about further about the different types. One we file directly in the court and one with the USCIS. So especially if it is a court procedure, you can understand, right? It's very subjective. So there are multiple reasons it could get postponed, multiple hearings could happen. So you cannot really say that it is a first come, first serve basis.
All right. As you explained earlier, Sri, there are various ways of obtaining asylum in the US, three basic ways, right? I'd like you to go over those requirements one by one. The first one that you mentioned was the affirmative asylum. Okay, so what is affirmative asylum and how does one go about it?
So affirmative asylum is somebody who's already in the US. They are proactively going and applying it with the USCIS. So it doesn't matter how you entered the US, like their immigration status is not really an issue here, but it is better and it is recommended by law they should apply within 1 year of their entry into the US. So you can actually apply with the USCIS. You will be applying, filling out a form, and with an affidavit and what are the reasons, and with, of course, with evidence, an attorney will decide what kind of evidences can be submitted. So you submit the paperwork with the USCIS, and then you will they will process it, definitely the processing time, and you will be called for an interview with an asylum officer. So that officer can decide whether you qualifies for an asylum, but at the same time they cannot decide whether you do not qualify for an asylum. So then they will be referred to an immigration judge. So that is affirmative asylum. So the main point here, if anybody looking to file for it, that they have to keep in mind that to file within a year. It's not that we cannot file after that, but then the standard is a little more high. You have to prove that there is a change circumstances, that you could not file within that year, and the time frame should be reasonable.
All right. Thank you for explaining that. What is defensive asylum? That's the second kind of asylum that you mentioned.
Right. So defensive asylum is like somebody who's already in the removal proceedings. So if they are in the court already, they got a notice of appear and they appeared in the court, and then they can, as a defense, they are saying that you cannot go back to their own country because there is a well-founded future persecution or there was a past persecution in their case. So that mostly acts as a defense when you are already in the court in front of the immigration judge. So mostly defensive asylum, they reach court like it happens either like they are referred from an asylum officer, or they are like while in the US they are apprehended by ICE officer or so like at the without proper legal documentation or in violation of their immigration status.
So is this the case we generally hear about in the news? People piling up at the border and
yes.
an officer.
Yes. So basically somebody is coming in without their papers, and they will be, that is actually the third type, like, we could consider, because one thing which is always we have to remember is for an asylum, you have to be in the US or at the port of entry to claim the asylum. Yes.
All right. So we've all heard about interviews with asylum, right? And we've heard about all those interviews. I've personally heard of horror stories of those interviews, right? Like the judge is really going, really hard on these asylum seekers. I guess that's their job. Right? That's how they protect US also, right? Now, if time permits, and we will get into all of that discussion, but right now my question is about the third kind of an asylum, which is the merit interview, the asylum merit interview. So what is asylum merit interview?
So this is different from, like I mentioned, the asylum interview. That is different. That is after you file an asylum, you will be scheduled for an interview and the asylum officer will conduct that. This is when if you are placed in an expedited removal proceeding. So you came into the US, they are trying to send you back. Then you are trying to say that, no, I cannot go back to my country because, really there's a life threat. There are somebody, if I enter the country, I will be killed, something like that. So then you will be given an opportunity to, with an officer, it is called credible fear interview screening. So it's basically a screening process where like the officer will determine, like, they will ask you questions. What is actually what is the threat? What are you afraid of? Why you shouldn't go back? Why you should, be in the US? So because of your threat. So that is what is this credible fear interview. So after that, they will be placed in line for in front of the immigration judge for the continuous, court proceedings to determine on the merit of their case.
All right, thank you. You did, explain the three ways really of obtaining asylum in the US. But is it that simple? Like just producing your paperwork, pleading for your case, and just going in front of a judge? I'm pretty sure the process is more complicated. But really, how long is the process?
So, yeah, like you said, that seems like a very simple question, but then it brings the attention to the bigger issue here, the backlog in immigration courts, right? The immigration court is like really, really backed up with cases, especially, the COVID pandemic definitely aggravated the situation. Currently, it's almost like 1.6 million cases are pending in the court. That, if you think about it, it's almost as big as population in city of Philadelphia, if you think about it. So that really, to answer your question, how long does it take? So it depends, and it can take somewhere. It can change, but the trend currently is minimum 4 to 5 years you have to wait in the court, like that after you reach the court proceedings. Again, like it can vary. Yes.
Wow. So 5 years of wait, and there's no guarantee after that you're gonna get it or not. I mean, lots of lives are at stake there, right?
Sorry?
So we spoke about the process. It can take years, but what are the benefits of a pending asylum? So you said it can take up to 5 years for the process to come by, right? I'm assuming that's when you're in a status called pending asylum, right?
Yes. So, yeah. So, one of the main benefits people look for, like when we talk about the clients, their first question is, when am I going to get my work permit, right? So that is one of the major benefits that, you will be given a work permit if you have a pending asylum. So once you put in your asylum, after 180 days of filing your asylum, you will be able to apply for a work permit. So it's called 180 day EAD clock. So the clock starts once the asylum is with USCIS, or if you lodge it with the court. But at the same time, I just want to, mention some of the side benefits also, like, you won't be, collecting any unlawful presence during this time. So you are not accruing any unlawful presence, for example. So you may ask, like, why is it important? Because if during, like you said that, like we discussed, it's a long wait for this asylum. So during this time, anything could happen. Like you may get a job offer and you may be able to get an H-1B, or like any other, or like marrying a US citizen, like you can fall in love, and that can happen. So during that time, like, this would help that, if you do not have any unlawful presence at all. So that is definitely another benefit, I would say. And then other benefits, like, once you have EAD, you can work legally and you will get your SSN and things like that. Yes.
So does everybody who fills in their paperwork, sends it to USCIS, the clock starts for them and can get EAD, or is there a glitch there?
No, anybody. If you have an asylum pending, till your case is decided on merit, you will get an EAD, like after 180. You can actually, there's a waiting period and there is an adjudication qualifying period. So basically, like, after 150 days, you can apply, but you will be qualified to get an EAD after 180 days of your asylum being pending with the USCIS or with the court.
All right. So my next question, I think it can be an entire topic of discussion in itself. It is the prosecutorial discretion. Under Trump era, prosecutorial discretion took a completely different turn. Under Biden administration, we are seeing a new facet to it. And under Obama administration, it was completely different. So I want you to tell me more about the prosecutorial discretion and tell me what it is all about.
So yeah, so it has been in the news lately because of the ongoing court proceedings and the new memos and with the new Biden administration. So prosecutorial discretion is, like you mentioned, it is literally there in the term. It's the discretion means like you can make a choice or judgment, like what to prosecute and what not. So a prosecutor has the discretion. They can choose how to prosecute a case or maybe not at all. So when it has been there in the history, it's embedded in our criminal law justice system. But when it comes to immigration, like, it can be like, your detention, your arrest or deportation can be, taken away, like, it can be put on hold. It depends. Prosecutor can decide what to go about and what not. So what happens is, like, if every time when a new administration comes to reflect their ethos, their policies, they send out these memos to these agents, like, these are the guidelines, these are the policies which we think is right for the immigrants at the time. So every administration does that. Like, it has been it's always been like that. And Biden administration also has, like, issued certain memos regarding prosecutorial discretion.
Right. What kind of guidance has the Biden administration issued?
So actually, immediately after the new administration came in, actually in September 2021, the Secretary of DHS, DHS Alejandro Mayorkas, issued a memo. That was the first memo came out in this regard, which actually says that, like, what should be your priority? Who are the type of people who you should be prosecuting at this time? So those who are a national security threat, a public safety threat, or a border security. So if you are not falling under this category, you are not your priority rightly. So it depends. So what they can actually do, Neha, is, like, since you are not falling, you have an asylum, you are not threat to any public or any safety. You came here because you really cannot live in your own country. There is a threat to your life. You are here and you have to wait forever here. So then but you don't have to wait for it. You can request for a request that, hey, like I just require, I need your discretion to take away this procedural aspects for now. So they decide, okay, you don't have to go about it. So that is how this works.
All right. Thank you for explaining. I mean, that's one thing that I find surprising, that how is it that when the laws are same, can change, the interpretation of the laws can change on the basis of who is on power, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one question. I know it was not in the questions we discussed, but I'm going to still go ahead and ask you. Where does ICE fall into all of this?
Yeah, ICE is one of the main party to this, right? So ICE attorneys, it's the discretion of the ICE. Maybe I wasn't clear. It's the discretion. The guidance is given to the ICE attorneys. OPLA, we say, the principal legal advisors. So they decide. They can decide. So when an asylum is it's an adversarial procedure, right? In court. So one side is we are representing our clients. Other side there is the prosecutor, which is ICE attorney. So ICE attorney is deciding like this is not really relevant for us now. There are other people who are a threat to our society who should be deported. So you are not your priority now. So they will be removed from the ongoing docket and another docket, deprioritized docket, we say. So they will be moved to that. So for that, attorneys, for such people, we can request for a PD.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that to me, Sri. Can one request for prosecutorial discretion? And if yes, how do they go about it?
Yeah, so again, before that, I just want to mention about the current status of, since I mentioned about the memo, like I just want to mention about the current status. Like if you're running out of time, I will quickly mention that. So this memo is not actually in effect now, because after Biden administration came with this, the state of Texas and Louisiana sued the administration, saying that this is very arbitrary. This is it says discretion, but you are giving, the guidelines are very clear and detailed, and so it is very arbitrary for the administration to say this. So, and they won the case there, and then so basically it is not in effect now. So at the same time, then of course they appealed it. They appealed the decision. Even there also the administration lost the case, but at the same time they at least asked, like, while the appeal goes on, because it takes some time, as you know, like it can go up to Supreme Court and to the final decision come. Can we at least keep it on stay? But they said no, it's on pause. Even the Supreme Court has said the same. So now it's in the Supreme Court, and maybe we are expecting a decision in 2023, June around maybe. Yeah, hearings are yet to be conducted on that.
So what will, if that decision, what will that mean for asylum seekers?
So for prosecutorial discretion, PD, for PD, it means, see, discretion is always there. It has always been there. So that guidance may not be in effect. At the same time, we can definitely like apply for people who are like, thinking like this is the right choice for them. We can apply request for it case by case. So that is the judge said. This is a case by case decision by ICE attorneys, not like a general guidance you should be given it should be given.
Right.
Yeah.
We're in the last leg of our discussion right now, Sri. So I really want to talk to you about the prosecutorial discretion, and I want to ask you, can one apply for it?
Yes. I should say that, if somebody thinks that they are the right candidate for it, they should really discuss with attorneys and take the right decision here, because you have to understand that once you get PD, your case is not decided on merit. You don't get any benefit. Your EAD will be cancelled. Your pending asylum is not there. So it is kind of somebody thinks that it is worth fighting for their case and they have a good case, then definitely go for it. And if not, like you think that your case is it will take, and there are so many factors to consider depending on their families. Like if you have a small child, you don't want to go to the court all the time, so you can decide on that. So I would definitely say that this is a case by case specifically we have to review it and then decide and talk with the attorneys, and attorneys can discuss with the clients and decide whether you are the right candidate for this request.
All right, thank you. We're in the last 2 minutes of our discussion. So I want to ask you this one last question. On an average, about 63% of asylum cases are actually denied. The claims are denied, right, in the courts. Why is it important to hire an attorney in this case?
It is definitely, like, because if the asylum definition, the law is very complicated. It's not as straightforward. You have a threat to life, because threat to life or any other issues, and you can claim for asylum. It is really complicated, right? And the procedural aspect of it. So definitely, I would say that an attorney who is handling asylum will be the right person to decide, like, who actually qualifies. You may think that you don't qualify, and you may actually qualify for that, like, due to your sexual orientation, due to a political opinion, because you're a part of a social group, anything it could be. So we deal with a lot of cases like that, so we can decide case by case whether you actually qualify for it.
All right, thank you, Sri. That is Sreelatha Babu, our legal consultant who sits in the Edison office. And this brings us to the end of our discussion today. If you have any questions for us, please send them to us, info@chugh.com. That's info@chugh.com. I will see you next week with another topic and another discussion. In the meantime, if you have any suggestions for us, any comments, or you want us to talk about a certain topic that we haven't discussed till now, please send it to us, info@chugh.com. I'll be happy to review it and come up with a discussion around it. Until next time, thank you for joining us, and thank you, Sri, for your time this afternoon.